South Africa's government of national unity is once again not looking very united, as relations between the two main governing parties, the African National Congress and Democratic Alliance, are increasingly strained by yet another falling out. So with these renewed tensions, and President Cyril Ramaphosa dealing with the fallout of an alleged police corruption scandal involving one of his allies, in this video we're going to explain why the South African government is in turmoil and whether it can survive this latest bout of infighting, or if it faces collapse. Who's the best politician right now? Hear our thoughts and argue with us on our podcast, The World Leader Leaderboard. Find it on the TLDR Podcast YouTube channel or in your favourite podcast app. Let's start with a quick reminder of how the coalition came to be. The election in May 2024 saw the ruling African National Congress, or ANC, lose its majority for the first time since it led the country out of apartheid 3 decades ago. The left-of-centre ANC, which remained the largest party despite losing its majority, was therefore forced to go in search of partners to bring them into government. It eventually struck an agreement with the main opposition party, the market-friendly centre-right Democratic Alliance, or DA, which was unprecedented given that the ANC and DA have been rivals for decades. They agreed, along with other smaller parties, to form a so-called Government of National Unity, or GNU, which eventually grew to feature a total of 10 wide-ranging parties, although it is dominated by the ANC and DA, who together make up 85% of the government's parliamentary seats. Given the ANC and DA's long rivalry, it's not surprising that throughout the year or so that the GNU has been in office, it's faced one point of tension after another. A series of laws spearheaded by the ANC but opposed by the DA have created significant rifts. This includes legislation that would give the government greater power over schools' language and admission policies, that the DA objects to for fear of its impact on the Afrikaans language. Separately, the DA has also objected to legislation that aims to provide universal health coverage, calling it unaffordable and unconstitutional. And the DA has also been an outspoken opponent of the new expropriation law, which allows the government to seize land without compensation in certain circumstances. But perhaps the biggest bust-up this year, before the most recent events, was over the ANC's plans to raise value-added tax. Now, the DA opposed this, and the two were at loggerheads, prompting 2 unprecedented delays to the passage of the budget, which eventually resulted in the ANC scrapping the planned VAT hike in April. So that brings us closer to the current day, and the most recent spats between the ANC and the DA. In late June, President Ramaphosa sacked Deputy Trade Minister Andrew Whitfield, a member of the DA, for an unsanctioned trip to the United States earlier in the year. Ramaphosa stated that this was a clear violation of the rules and established practices, but Whitfield's firing nevertheless sparked an angry reaction from the DA, whose leader, John Steenhuisen, accused Ramaphosa of hypocrisy and overreaction, and issued a 48-hour ultimatum demanding that Ramaphosa fire 3 ANC ministers and deputy ministers that had also been accused of corruption, or face the consequences. Ramaphosa said that he would not, quote, yield to threats and ultimatums, and defied the DA's demands. In response, the DA withdrew from the National Dialogue, an initiative of Ramaphosa aimed at finding solutions for the country's pressing challenges. The DA considered, but ultimately opted not to table a motion of no confidence in the president. But it did say that it would vote against the departmental budgets of corruption-accused ministers unless they were replaced. Things only got worse for Ramaphosa this month, when his trip to Brazil for the BRICS summit was interrupted by explosive allegations made against his police minister and ally, Senzo Mchunu. The police commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal province alleged that Mchunu and other officials had ties to criminal gangs and had interfered in investigations into politically motivated killings. Now, Mchunu denied any wrongdoing, but the allegations caused political uproar, prompting Ramaphosa to put the police minister on a leave of absence and announce a judicial commission into the claims. This did not do much to assuage the opposition, and the DA was less than impressed. Steenhuisen welcomed the leave of absence as a necessary step, but said that it only came after sustained pressure, and he expressed skepticism in the inquiry, saying that South Africans have grown cynical of such things and see them as buying time and avoiding accountability. The DA is also putting pressure on the ANC by, in its own words, revealing that Ramaphosa's special envoy to the United States had been denied a diplomatic visa to the US and had his credentials rejected, something that Ramaphosa's office dismissed as sensationalist and disinformation. So, given everything we've just gone through, it's pretty remarkable that the Government of National Unity is actually still together over a year later. But can it survive these latest tensions? Well, the way we see it, the most likely answer is yes. The GNU will probably survive. That's because, despite the frustration of both of the main parties, it remains in both of their interests to stay in government together. You have to remember that for the DA, they've been perpetually in opposition for the past 30 years, and this is the first opportunity they've had to be in government, so it's not an easy thing to give up. Even if the DA is frustrated at what it says is the ANC running roughshod over its coalition partners, it's managed to sort of play the role of opposition party while still being in government, as it's clearly unafraid to vocally oppose and launch legal challenges against certain ANC measures, with its campaign against the VAT hike, for example, being a success. Plus, it sees staying in the GNU as the better option for itself and South Africa's stability, economy, and so on. That's because if the DA left government, the ANC could end up in what the DA calls a doomsday coalition, with the far-left EFF and the left-wing MK party, the latter of which was founded by former South African President Jacob Zuma after he split from the ANC. Back in April, the DA Steenhuisen said that if the ANC want us out, they must kick us out, and they must deal with the consequences. And it also seems to be in the interest of Ramaphosa to keep the GNU together, as the DA's presence has boosted investor and business confidence in the country. And he, despite the views of some of those in his party, also doesn't want to have to govern with the EFF or MK, which could be an even more fractious coalition than the current one. Ultimately, neither the ANC or DA see the potential turmoil of a government collapse as beneficial, particularly now when the economy is stagnant, unemployment is above 30%, and the country is in a serious diplomatic rift with US President Donald Trump, whose prospective 30% tariff could cause 100,000 job losses, and whose administration has been boycotting the South African-hosted G20 this year. So, while it's not the happiest of marriages, it does seem likely that the ANC and DA will stick together for now, though don't expect an end to the squabbling and disagreements anytime soon. More broadly though, it really does feel like we're in a period of political change at the moment. Gone are the days of predictable geopolitics, with Trump's America taking increasingly dramatic turns, so much so that it feels that America's influence, popularity, and dominance are all on the decline. So in the next issue of our magazine, Too Long, we're discussing this shift, and the potential that we're currently observing the end of the American order. In that section of the magazine, we discuss our thoughts on everything from the collapse of democratic norms to if America is losing allies, and if the country can maintain its dominance in energy and tech, before discussing who could potentially take over in a post-American world. So if you want to find out what we really think about America, now's your chance. It's not just the US either though. This issue is our longest ever at 78 pages. So we also get into stories like why El Salvador and Kosovo are becoming the world's penal colonies, if the UK is lacking vision at the moment, if Europe can really defend itself, and why leaders like Putin and Netanyahu seem to be getting away with it. Plus, we also have a full interview with Professor James Kerr-Lindsay, who you might also know from YouTube, all about the collapse of the global order. Now, if that all sounds good to you, but you'd rather listen than read along, then you should check out the premium edition. Because anyone who buys a premium edition of our magazine also gets access to our recordings of selected articles. Plus, you also get access to the full 90-minute interview with James Kerr-Lindsay. On top of that, premium subscribers also get access to our behind-the-scenes podcast, The Bullpen. Regardless of whether you opt for the regular or premium edition, if you never want to miss an issue, then make sure you subscribe to Too Long, which gets you 20% off every copy as long as you stay subscribed. Plus, this week only, if you use the code BESTOFFER when signing up for a subscription, you'll get an additional 35% off. That brings down the cost as low as £5.20, or a wild 48% off. That is the best offer we are ever going to offer. So pre-order your copy today to get yourself that extra content and support all of the journalism we do here at TLDR every single day.